Now, this is something that I didn't necessarily think of or necessarily agreed with when Ahsoka Season 1 first initially dropped. When Ahsoka Season 1 initially dropped, I was honestly kind of blinded by the flair and how good the show was, at least a few episodes. It started to lose me towards the end, if you guys were there back when I was reviewing this. Star Wars Rebels director Henry Gilliard came out and said that he didn't like how Sabine Wren was turned into a Jedi. Now, I didn't necessarily hate the fact that Sabine Wren was turned into a Jedi slowly by Ahsoka Tano, but nowadays, now that the dust is settled, I've had time to really think and reflect on the Ahsoka series and how the overall arcing story of Star Wars is right now. I have to agree. I don't necessarily think that Sabine should have been turned into a Jedi, or at least been able to do the things that she did so freaking fast. I mean, if you guys remember one episode, she was struggling. This is something that I did have a problem with when the show premiered, but she was struggling to even do a simple force pull. And in the next episode, she's freaking force pushing Ezra 100 feet. First off, that's definitely not how the Force works. I mean, obviously we have different characters with very high potentials, but the way George explains the Force is that everybody essentially has the Force, but their potential within the Force is going to be capped. I mean, obviously somebody like Anakin Skywalker has an extremely high potential. All the Jedi that have been trained at the Jedi Temple during the Clone Wars, they all had extremely high potential. But Jedi aren't going to waste their time to train somebody who has very little to, if not any, potential within the Force, because it doesn't matter how hard you train it, the Force isn't just going to activate like that. Furthermore, when it comes to the training of young Jedi, it takes a long time to even do the bare basics, and that is why Jedi are often captured or taken when they were a young kid and trained until they were young teens or adults. And even then, after they have the basics down, even after all these years of training, it still takes them a long time to completely, fully understand the Force. For Sabine to be able to do this all within one season is kind of crazy. I mean, yeah, it seemed like nothing back during the Clone Wars for these young Jedi or younglings to just be able to just push through and learn all these different Force feats, but that's because they had the best of the best of the best training them. And it was a constant cyclical training methods that they were going on for many, many years. And it was also trained by the perspective of multiple different masters so that they completely understood every single last outlook and look into how the Force works and how they can incorporate it within themselves. And as I said earlier, these younglings also had some of the highest potential in the entire galaxy to be trained and taught how to be a Jedi. Now, Sabine did technically have a good master. She did have Ahsoka Tano, who was definitely one of the strongest, if not one of the strongest young Jedi during the Clone Wars. And she was also trained by one of the best Jedis ever in Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and also was trained by Yoda a few times here and there, and also was trained by Plo Koon. So yeah, Ahsoka does have a lot of potential, and she is more than capable of training Sabine Wren, but not this quickly. The next issue I kind of have with Sabine Wren now becoming a Jedi herself is the pure fact that there's just way too many Jedi in this post-Empire world. Not even Jedi like Ahsoka were supposed to be alive. If it was according to George Lucas and the way George Lucas wanted it to be, it was only going to be Luke until Luke fully was able and capable of training more Jedi and becoming a true Grand Master. I mean, even George Lucas wanted Ahsoka to have died during the Clone Wars. That was her full intention for Ahsoka Tano. But Dave Filoni wrote it so that Ahsoka is still alive. Now, I do like the dynamic between Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, but it just raises a bunch of questions now with all these Jedi running around. And to me, it kind of creates this weak narrative point that Ahsoka just completely didn't want to be involved with the battle against the Empire with the Rebels. It just kind of creates this weird dynamic now, and you have to almost back yourselves into a corner narratively. But I do like the idea of Ahsoka potentially helping Luke create the new Jedi Order. That would be really cool. But I do agree with the statement that there are just way too many Jedi, and I also agree that Sabine Wren was cool on her own, just being a Mandalorian. That part is super duper cool. Now, I do understand this part narratively from this point because it's obvious that Disney has been really pushing into the Mandalorian story arcs and what the Mandos have to offer to the Star Wars galaxy. I mean, we kind of saw it coming back when they introduced the Darksaber back into Star Wars, and you can honestly see where they're trying to push on with this. They definitely want to push for a Mandalorian Jedi. I do like the idea of Grogu growing up and eventually becoming the first Mandalorian Jedi that we have seen in many, many years. I feel like this would be a very cool point to have, but in a far future. But overall, I just think that this dilution of Jedi being in the far future post the Empire world is just kind of insane to me. We just have Jedi all over the place right now. I mean, even if Luke were to start building his own Jedi Order, it would take many, many years and many, many students in order for it to even grow to maybe, let's just say, 200 total students. And it would be technically Grogu being one of them. I just think that that's insane. But overall, I definitely agree with the Rebel showrunner, Henry Gilliard, and I'm glad that he shared his opinion on this. I don't have a issue with the character of Sabine Wren, but I just think that it would have been cooler if she would have remained a Mandalorian, just a true blue blood Mandalorian. Now, I shouldn't say Jedi. I should honestly just say Force sensitive. My bad for saying that this entire video. I just don't agree with the fact of making Sabine Wren Force sensitive, but we all know that it would have eventually led to her being a Jedi, essentially. But I also don't like the fact that they made her Force sensitive, and then her level of Force potential is just insane. I think her going from barely being able to pull off a simple Force pull on a cup and then being able to Force push Ezra, because I have the Force, essentially. She's able to Force push Ezra hundreds of feet is just kind of an insane feat. And it happened much too quickly. But anyway, that's all I got for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. May the Force be with you guys, and as always, have a great rest of your day.